Did I move to Italy for love? Why did I become an expat? Why move to a country where I can't speak the language? I'm answering these and many more questions in this week's video because I've been asked lots of questions since I became an expat nearly 3 years ago. And I asked another question on Saturday on Instagram where I invited people to ask me what they were curious to know about. So let's get into it, shall we? The first question I want to answer is, did I move to Italy for love? And the answer is no, not love for a person, that came later. I moved to Italy because I fell in love with the country, with the culture, with the climate, with the food, with the beaches, with the sea. This is the reason why I decided Italy would be the country I wanted to move to. So not love for a person, but love for a country. This is why I moved to Italy. The second question I'm asked all the time is, why did I become an expat? This is a bit more personal because I feel like I became an expat because I was ready for a change in my life. I had been a police officer, I had been an entrepreneur for 4 years following that, and I had worked to my arse to the bone for 10 years of my life. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm a workaholic, I love to work, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'd reached the point in my life where I felt I just simply wasn't living. And I took my very first trip to Italy on holiday in the summer of 2017 to a lovely little place called Meta, which is near Sorrento. And I absolutely fell in love. And it was at that point where I was like, most of my family live abroad and have become expats. Why not do that for myself? And, you know, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And it meant walking away from my business. It meant walking away from the life that I had known all my life in the UK and starting something completely brand new. But it was one of the best things that I've ever done. And it's pushed me out of my comfort zone in so many different ways. And, you know, I've hit rock bottom and then I've risen again even stronger. And I would say it was one of the best decisions that I could have ever taken for myself. And sometimes, you know, you decide to do things that perhaps other people don't understand or agree with, but you have to remember, like, your decision is for you and for your life, and nobody else is living your life but you. And, you know, even some of those people that were hesitant about my decision to become an expat are now like so supportive because they've seen what I've created for myself. So I would just say, like, you know, I'm going a bit off topic here, but if people don't necessarily agree or buy into your dream of becoming an expat, you mustn't let that deter you, because at some point those people will come around when they realise that it was the best decision that you could have made for yourself. So another question that I'm asked all the time is, why move to a country I couldn't speak the language of? And it's a very good question. But I felt a connection to Italy. That summer when I came here for the very first time, it was like an inner connection. And I've learned a lot through my life, I'm quite deep and spiritual, that, you know, when you have that feeling, you have to run with it. There's a reason you feel that way. And it wasn't just the fact I had rose-tinted glasses on and I was on holiday, because, you know, I know holidays are very different from everyday life, but it was just a feeling inside I had that Italy was the country I was destined to live in. And, you know, I came back to Naples a couple of times after that first visit to Meta, and I still fell in love with it. And I knew that I was meant to choose this country to become an expat in. So yes, I knew the language was a problem, but, you know, and I want to say about this because a lot of people are very opinionated when it comes to whether or not you should be speaking the language and in what time frame. And I just want to say, please embrace it and understand that it's a very unique journey. Everybody has their own life to lead, work commitments, family commitments, adapting to life in a new country. Please don't beat up on yourself and feel bad if immediately you're not instantly speaking Italian. I think some people can be very judgmental, and I think, you know, it's completely unnecessary. Everybody leads very different lives, and you will learn Italian when the time is right for you. Like now I am taking lessons every week, and, you know, I have been like really focused on my Italian this year, but it's taken me nearly 3 years to reach this point. And, you know, I've been met with differing opinions about that since I've moved here. But, you know, at the end of the day, I've really come to embrace now that my journey is unique and it doesn't matter what other people think I should have achieved in this time. I've achieved a hell of a lot in many other aspects of my life in this period. So, you know, the language has come at the time when it's meant to come, which is now. And so, you know, yes, I didn't move to a country where I spoke the language, but I don't believe that you have to wait until you speak the language of the country you're moving to before you move. I think in hindsight, yes, it helps to have a little bit of preparation, a little bit of planning, maybe learn the basics before you move, or at least attempt to. But please don't let that be the one thing that stops you from moving. Yes, your life will be a little trickier, but it's not impossible. I've got by all of this time, and I live in the south of Italy where English is like gold dust. It's hardly ever spoken, and you know, I've been met with just the loveliest people who are so patient and kind, and often want to try and practice their limited English because, you know, they haven't had a chance to use it for many, many years. So I feel like don't let the language be something that delays you from becoming an expat. Please don't think you have to have your language to an absolute perfect level before you move, because trust me, that's not the way it works in life. Like, there will never be the perfect moment for you to become an expat. There will never be a perfect moment for you to make that choice. You just have to do it, and then you create your life and make it all work around it. That's the key to anything, really. So the next question that I'm asked a lot is, why did I move to Salerno? And I was asked this again yesterday on my Instagram as well. And the real reason is that I fell in love with the south of Italy. Obviously, from that original holiday, it was in the south of Italy, and I wanted to stay in that part of Italy. Now, don't get me wrong, I did travel to Rome for a little bit, and I spent a couple of weeks in Rome just to understand how it felt to live somewhere a little bit more busy, but I just didn't have that same connection. And I didn't want to live somewhere that was very touristical, and obviously Rome is. And Salerno isn't. Like, it's very near to the Amalfi, but it's not a place that is full of tourists in the summer season. And for this, I absolutely love it. And I feel like I'm living in a part of Italy which feels like real Italy. This is why I didn't want to live in like a very popular place where tourists go, because I feel like you start to lose the authentic feeling of living in Italy when you have like tourist menus popping up in restaurants and, you know, places charging higher prices. And I just think, it's not real Italy. It doesn't feel like real Italy then. And I feel like I live in a place now where it's beautiful. I have the sea. This was a big plus for me. I definitely wanted to live somewhere where I was close to the sea, and I have a little city with shops, and I'm close to all the connections like trains, buses, so I can easily travel out of Salerno and go to other parts of Italy. And so it's the perfect place for me. I feel safe here. I feel like I know my way around now after nearly 3 years. So I definitely think for me, this was the best choice I could have made. And I happened upon Salerno by chance, really, because when I made the commitment that I wanted to move to Italy, I started to explore ways that I could make it happen, and I came across a website recommended through one of the expat groups, one of the benefits of them, workaware.com. And if you've never heard of it before, I'm going to put the link below in the show notes because I think it's a fantastic website. I obviously don't know how it's going to operate now post-pandemic, or, you know, while we're still in the throes of it, but it's worth exploring for the future, definitely. It's like a skills exchange website, and people post requests from all around the world for people to come and stay with them, to do work for them, or to speak a language to them, whatever it is that people require. And they often will provide accommodation, food, in exchange for your time. So it's a fantastic way to spend time in a country and get to know it before you decide whether or not it could be the place for you, and actually really get to know a place, not just stay in a hotel and see one side of a city, but actually stay with people that live there every single day and can perhaps educate you a bit more on what life is really like and show you the places to go and help to integrate you a bit more. So I went onto this skills exchange website and I put in like Sorrento, because obviously that was the region that I'd stayed in when I came on that holiday in that summer of 2017. And there were a few placements, but for whatever reason, people didn't come back, they didn't read their emails. Some people have created profiles, but they never go back and check what responses they might get. So bear that in mind if you use the website. But anyway, I came across one from Salerno where a girl wanted to have English lessons, and basically in exchange I would have accommodation and be shown around the town and food. And it was through that placement that I came to Salerno. And when I looked on the map, I understood it was not far from Sorrento. And yes, I came and spent 4 weeks there in late February to late March of 2018. And it was from that time that I formed connections here, and I made the decision, and I knew that this was going to be my home. So that is why I chose Salerno, really. I fell in love with the place. I fell in love with it feeling like a proper Italian town and city, and it not being full of tourists, and it being by the sea, like beautiful, and the south of Italy, for all of these reasons. So another question I'm asked a lot is, did I make any major diet changes, or have I made any major diet changes since I have been living here in Italy? The answer is yes. I definitely eat pasta way more than I ever ate it in the UK. I have pasta every single day. And I have to be honest with you, I am the skinniest I've ever been in my life. So please don't buy into that myth that we're often told in the Western world, where it's bad to eat pasta every day because you'll get fat. I just don't think there's that much truth in it. Like, it depends on what you cook with it, of course. I mean, in the UK, we rely a lot on processed sauces and jars of sauce, which of course are not going to be the healthiest for you. But here in Italy, everything is cooked with fresh ingredients. And so when you have pasta, you typically have it with really, really, really fresh ingredients. And so for this, it's wonderful. And so, you know, that's been a big diet change for me. Drinking coffee every day. I have 3 to 4 espressos every single day. And, you know, I rarely ever drank coffee in the UK. On the very odd occasion I would drink it. But now it's all I drink. Obviously, getting used to like later dinners. This has been a big thing for me when we're talking about food and diet, because in the UK, dinner time used to be around 6 p.m, 7 p.m. at night. And someone really told me, actually, something quite funny, that in Italy, if you are given dinner at that time, here it's because you're in hospital. Typically in Italy, Italians eat from 8:30 onwards. Like, this is the time that people will eat over here. And so it's very different. So my diet's changed in that sense, in terms of the times that I eat. And also for breakfast as well. Like, I don't drink milk here at all. I don't really like it. It's not like the milk I'm used to back in the UK. And for this, I don't have like cereal, which is what I used to have for breakfast all the time in the UK. Instead, I have the typical breakfast here, which is something sweet, like a cornetto, which is a croissant, or some sort of sweet pastry. This is what I have every morning, because this is what the Italians have. They have a sweet breakfast. So I don't have eggs, I don't have cooked breakfasts, I don't have any of that anymore. In fact, like, if you have eggs in the morning, I think the Italians think you're a bit crazy, because they're not typically a morning food here. So yes, my diet's changed in that respect as well. And just generally, I feel like I eat a lot better. Like, I used to eat so much processed junk food when I lived in the UK, predominantly because I was so busy and I just didn't make the time to cook nice food for myself. But here I don't do that, and like, everything is so much fresher, even the pizzas. So, you know, I've definitely benefited from this change to my diet, and I feel the healthiest for it, absolutely. So another question I'm asked is, how did I get a job here in Italy? This is like the #1 question I think I'm asked the most after why I chose to move here. I've done a whole video on this with a 5-step guide as to how I got my job. I'm going to link it above, but in summary, I got my job by putting myself out there, because you know what, it doesn't matter what country you're in, the jobs don't come to you, you have to go to the jobs. And so, you know, I put myself out there, and for this, I was blessed and fortunate to receive the responses I did. But, you know, watch that video. It's going to help you a lot, because it gives you some more detail as to the steps I took, and it might give you some ideas as to possible employment opportunities for yourself. But please don't listen to the naysayers. There are so many negative Nancy's that want to tell you how hard it is to find work here. It really isn't if you put your mind to it. And, you know, I think so many people are so deterred at this point because they think, oh my goodness, I'll never find a job. Listen, don't buy into other people's stories and beliefs. Create your own story, create your own belief, create your own life. This is the truest thing ever, and this separates people who succeed in life to people that stay stagnant. People that stay stagnant are put off by the slightest negative criticism, and you know, they absorb it and they listen to it and it paralyzes them. Whereas people that succeed listen, digest and release what doesn't serve them and still go ahead and follow their dreams, because they understand that we create our lives. We are not victims of destiny or fate. We are the ones that create our life for ourselves. It's as simple as that. So yes, just this, watch that video, it will help you a lot. So another question that I've been asked, especially yesterday on my Instagram when I posted this, and by the way, if you don't follow me on Instagram, my link is above, somewhere up here. Connect with me there. Like, I post pictures of like what I get up to, give you snapshots of my life here in Italy. It's just a very positive place. So if you enjoy my YouTube channel, follow me on my Instagram. I think you'll enjoy that as well. But anyway, back to the question. The question was, are Italy paying tourists to visit the country? Now, obviously, this is a question that's come on board post-pandemic with everything that's been going on. I know that maybe there are some very good incentives for tourists to come to Italy, maybe like cheaper prices or some special offers, but I don't know of any set scheme where tourists are being paid to come to Italy. That may be a little bit of a white lie, so I don't know, be careful about that. But obviously, if somebody does know, you can post below in the comments, educate us all. But as far as I know, it's just maybe like localized offers from like regions and from hotels to encourage tourists to come, but not necessarily give them money for doing so. Maybe just give them like cheaper accommodation or an experience like this. And this leads me on to my last question for this little video actually, and that is, what is life like here post-COVID? Now, obviously we are still in the pandemic. I say post-COVID, but it feels like, you know, with the vaccines going through, I feel like we're entering a new phase now, but things are still different here. Like, you know, at the moment we still have restrictions in place, albeit a lot less than they were a few weeks before. But I still don't feel like we're fully out of the woods. The 21st of June, we finally lose our curfew that we have had in place for many, 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 many months. And I think at that point, life will start to feel a lot more normal. We still have to wear our masks everywhere, outside and inside. And certainly, I think until like the beginning part of June, we cannot sit inside restaurants or bars. We have to only sit outside. I mean, thankfully, we have the climate and the good weather to support this. And I would just say as well, you know, like, it is very different in terms of like some shops have gone out of business. If you've lived here for some time, you recognise the changes. I guess if you come here for the first time, you're not going to notice it so much. But, you know, there are slight changes to how life is here right now, and obviously just respect the regulations really. But, you know, I hope that this summer businesses can start to recover, and, you know, I hope that tourists that come to our country in this time really respect the regulations really, because otherwise we pay the price come September, October time, which is exactly what happened last year. But yes, just this. Anyway, I hope these questions have given you a bit more of an insight as to what life is like in Italy and as an expat. If you have other questions that I haven't covered, then either post them below in the comments or pop on over to my Instagram and send me a message and I will answer you. So yes, this is it for today. If you love my channel and my videos, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, and I will see you next time.